Hi, I'm Alexander Maxim from Utopian.io. Today we'll continue our series about PHP. We will check the string methods. This is the third part. We will check the Implode method, the join method, the Lcfirst, Ltrim, and Fprintf methods. Let's start with the Implode method. What's the Implode method and when we can use it? The Implode method or function assumes the array elements to form a text string using the glue parameter. The implode function accepts parameters in any order they were. However, in order to approve the explode function, we need to follow this order of parameters. The first parameter is the glue. By default, it specified a blank text string. The second parameter is the pieces, the data array from which we form the text string. The implode function returns a text string that contains all the elements of the array and the same order within the array, with the addition of the glue parameter between the elements. Let's use an example to understand what's the implode method. We need to use the echo to print the hidden, which is implode method. After that, I will create an array. It's an indexed array. We have the elements. So I have created an array of strings. PHP is the best. These are the elements of our array. After that, I want to form a string using the elements of our array. And to do that, we need to use the implode method. So the implode method has two parameters. The first parameter is the glue or the separator, and the second is the array or the pieces. So we need to pass the array as parameter to the implode method, and we need to use the separator. For example, I will use the point as separator, and the implode method returns a string. So I need to declare a string variable to store the value returned by the implode method. After that, I will use the echo again to print our string. Let's reload and see the results. So we have PHP point is point, the point, best point, and the sign. If I want to form a logical string, I will use the space between the elements. And when we reload, this is the result. PHP space is the best. Let's see how it works. So we have our array and we have the elements. PHP is the best. These are the elements of our array, the boxes. The implode function accepts two parameters, the array, the pieces, and the glue, the separator. In this example, I will pass this array of elements to the implode function. The implode will get the elements of our array and make them like that. Then it will add the separator after each element importing from the array. So after is, it will make this separator here. After the here, after best the separator, and after the sign the separator. So it will add after each element or between two elements the separator passed as parameter. Then it will return a string like that, formed by these elements. This is the implode method. So the implode function returns a text string that contains all the elements of the array and the same order within the array, with the addition of the glue parameter between the elements. After the Implode method, we have the join method. What's the join method? The join function or method returns a string of array elements. It has two parameters. The first is the separator or the glue, like the first method. By default, it is worth the empty string, so the blank string. This is not the recommended use of the join. We recommended that you always use both settings to be compatible with older versions. The second is the array, which is the array of chains to collect. The join method is the same like the Implode method. It forms a string using the elements of the array. Let's create another array, array2. So this is my second array. We have an array of strings. Using the join method, we pass two parameters. The separator, always, for example, we need to form a logical string, so we need to use the space. Then I will pass the array2 as parameter. The join method returns a string, so we need to create another variable string2 to store the value returned by the join method. Then I will use the echo function to print the value of the variable str2. Let's reload and see, and we have I love Utopian. Imagine if we have, for example, an array of like that, utopian.io, for example, and we remove this sign. So if we form a string using this elements, we will get like a URL, but in the URL we have the points, so we need to pass the point as separator to the string, and we have www.utopian.io, and this is the results. Let's see how it works. The same principle and the same concept like the Implode method. So we have an array, we have the elements I love Utopian. All these elements, I will pass the array as parameter to the join method, and we have the separator, which is the space. It will get all the elements of the array, make the separator between the elements, and return the string like that. And this is the join method. After the join method, we have the Lcfirst, or the left character, or the left character first method. What's the left character first method? The Lcfirst function returns a string whose first character was lower case if that character is an alphabetic character. So the alphabetic is determined by the current local. Currently, characters like German letters or characters will not be converted. It has just the string as parameter, and it returns a string. Let's see an example to understand the Lcfirst method. So we will use the echo to print the Lcfirst, or the value returned by the Lcfirst method, and we will pass the first string, which is PHP is the best to this method, and we will print the value returned by this method. Let's reload and see the results. So if you look here, we have PHP is the best, and here PHP is the best, but the first letter or the first character is now like a small letter, and here in the normal, in the string, we have PHP capital letter, the letter P, and here the Lcfirst has changed the form of the letter P to the small letter. This is the Lcfirst. Let's see how it works. So we have the string PHP is the best. When we pass this string to the Lcfirst method, it will get the first letter and change it from the capital letter to the small letter, from the uppercase to the lowercase, and return this to the method and return this string like that. So this is the P and this is the P in capital and in small letters. After the Lcfirst, we have the Ltrim method. What's the Ltrim method? The Ltrim function will remove spaces or other predefined characters from the beginning of the string. This function returns the string after removing the invisible characters from the beginning of the string. If the second Charlie's parameter has been omitted, Ltrim will remove the following characters. Let's see the characters. So the characters are the space, the tab, the /n, the r, the slash, and /x0b. So the new line carries return the character null and the vertical tab. We have string. This string contains spaces, then the sentence how are you. When we pass this string as parameter to the Ltrim function, it will return this result. Why we get this result? Because when we remove the second parameter, because we have two parameters in the Ltrim function, we have the string and the Charlie's. So when we remove this second parameter, it will verify, it will test if we have one of these predefined characters in the beginning of the string, the space or the tab or the /n, etc. If we have these characters, it will remove them and return this string. We have another string with /n/n to break the line two times. We have how are you. When we pass this string to the Ltrim function as parameter, it will return this string, so it will remove /n/n. Let's see an example to understand more how it works. So we have the Ltrim method or the Ltrim method. Then we have a string str3, which is for example spaces, how are you, and we have we will use the echo to print directly Ltrim, and we will pass the string as parameter. But firstly, I will also print the str3 variable with the spaces to see the difference between the string with the spaces and with the Ltrim function. Let's reload and see. So here we have, we will concatenate it with the br, and we have how are you, how are you. Exactly. The browser will ignore all the spaces and all the break line, but to see them we need to use the view sources. So we have here the spaces, then how are you, and the second we concatenate it with the br here, Then I have used the echo to print the string with the Ltrim function, and here we have nothing. We haven't the spaces here. So this is the first str3 variable, and when we use the Ltrim function, this is the variable. Let's use the /n to break the lines and to see exactly how it works. So we have /n, and let's reload, and here we have the first line and second line. Then how are you? Let's add another break line. Then I will reload, and we have two break lines. Then the how are you? After using the Ltrim method, it removes the break lines at the beginning of the string. And when we inspect the elements, we will see that we have here the lines or the /n in this string, and this is the string with the Ltrim function. So when we use the Ltrim function, it will remove the spaces and all these characters of at the beginning of the string passed as parameter. We need this function in many times, because for example, in the password, to remove the spaces after and before the password, because we have the Ltrim and the right string from the left and the right of the string. After the Ltrim method, we have the Fprintf method. What's the Fprintf method? This method or this function writes a text string formatted with the forma parameter to a path defined by the handle. It has two parameters. The first is the handle from file system resources, which is typically created via the fopen function, and the second is the forma. We have many options, like for example the percentage B, percentage C, etc. Let's see an example to understand all of them. So we have the Fprintf method. To use the Fprintf method, we need to create a variable num. For example, the value is 22. Then we need to use a file. We need to create a file using the fopen. Then I will use the utopian.txt. I will write in a txt file, because the printf is to write, and the fprintf is the forma to print in the utopian.txt. So how I can write this variable, this number, in the utopian.txt file, the format to write this variable. Let's see an example. So using the Fprintf, we have two parameters, the handle, which is the file, and the forma. Here I will just use %d, and I will pass the num or this number as parameter. And now the Fprintf return the number of characters using or existing here in the utopian.txt file. So we need to use the echo to see how the number of characters or the length of this file. Let's reload and see the results, and we have just two numbers. When we open, we have here the utopian.txt file, and we have the letter 22. I will now remove this file, and open here. So we have the file of open utopian txt right to create a file utopian.txt to write in this file this string and number passed as parameter using the fprintf method. So we have the string PHP is the best, for example, and the num is 22. And here we have the percentage and percentage. Why we get two percentage here? Because we have two variables. In the example that I have used, I have just this variable, so I need one percentage. When I pass the string also as parameter, so I need another percentage. And the percentage, we have a percentage b. So the number, for example, 22 passed as parameter is an integer number. Integer is treated as an integer and presented as a binary number. So when we use the percentage b, the 22 will be treated as an integer and presented as a binary number. Let's confirm and see the results. So when we reload, we have 5 characters. Let's open the utopian and we have 10110. It's a binary number in the utopian file. Let's remove and see another example. So the C, for example, percentage C will be treated as an integer and presented as a character with the corresponding ASCII value. With the D is the decimal value. With the F is the floating number. Let's, for example, use the F, percentage F, and the number 22 will be treated as an integer and returned as and printed as a floating number. Let's reload and see the results. So we have 9, and when we open the utopian, so we have 22 and point because it's floating number, and we have 000, and you can also precise the number of letters or of numbers after the point. So the fprintf method is right inside the file with the format that you want. We have percentage O, for example, to an integer as an octal number. We have a percentage S will be treated as a text string when we pass a string as parameter. Let's see. So when we pass the str, we need to pass the percentage S, and let's see the results. So when we reload, we get 70, and we have here PHP is the best. So the fprintf will print inside the file or in the file utopian.txt as the format passed as second parameter, like that, and we have the hexadecimal in capital and the U to as a decimal non-location, etc. So we have many options to write or to select the format that you want to write inside the file. This is the fprintf method. Today we have learned the Implode method, the join method, the Lcfirst, Ltrim, and fprintf methods. Thank you for your